Your beauty standards and ideals can be shaped by those who are around you. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. This commenter writes, the thought process of others that you are describing sounds ridiculous to me. Beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder. I have never been attracted to the men that my friends are attracted to, and I thank God for that. You know, I'm glad you said that, but the reality is there are a lot of people who become very competitive when, you are attracted to someone, even if they're married or they're partnered. You can have friends that are married and are partnered, and they're with you, and you feel like, oh, I'm attracted to this guy or this woman over there. And then all of a sudden, your friend wants to compete and compare, and they want to try and go after the same person that you are in a relationship or that you're interested in, just to prove a point that they got it, and two, that they can disrespect you, and that you don't hold a candle to them. And this is something that I used to face back in the day. Back in the day, this is just a little side story. I'll share this with you all. Back in the day, I used to work in the grocery store. The grocery store, the grocery store I worked in, it was like a club. All kinds of people came in there, pro ball players, college kids, everybody. It was always active in there. It was a fun place to work. I met a lot of people. People that would still recognize me to today, and it's been well over 20 years, I think, since I've worked there. But there was another person that worked there, and she had light colored eyes, and she would say, oh, I think I'm prettier than you. That's great. You're supposed to think that. That's your version. But she kind of went out of her way to tell me that. And then, I was dating a guy, and then she was dating a guy, but she was also married. But she was, still dating a guy. And, she made it a point to go out of her way with the guy that I was dating to try and flirt with him. And, he totally fell for it. And, and she, couldn't wait to tell me, oh, your person was totally vibing with me, offered to pay my bills and all this other kind of stuff. Just sort of ran amok with it, and it was just totally disrespectful. But she couldn't wait to tell me that, and like really wanted to see how jealous or activated that I could get, but also to go out of her way to prove her point that, oh, I'm prettier than you, and men are going to want me more than they want you. I can't necessarily say per se that she was attracted to him, but it was a point that she definitely wanted to see how far she could get and then come back and gloat about it. So maybe not the attractiveness, but again, she was really the type of person that was overly flirtatious with anybody that she came into contact with. She was, a lot of people were all about share a seven. I've worked with girls like her that were a dime a dozen, but she was all about, people that could give her money, pay her bills, and elevate her lifestyle, even though she was married and had a boyfriend. So that means that she would take it there, whether she found you attractive or not, whether you were partnered or not, she's going to get what she can get, and it doesn't matter who she steps on, who's already got some situations, some kids, or other obligations. It did not matter. She wants what she wants. But also, in the meantime, she wants to make sure that, her friend, me, or, other women that she knows, don't you go thinking that you are attractive or that you've got something strong or that you've got something going on, because I can get what you've got and have no problem with it. And so it was very easy for her to put me down, and that was really a huge red flag. But it's very easy to put me down and then go after all of the things that she wanted. And if there was like a situation where someone's talking to me or expressing interest, she has to make herself known, and her presence has to, she has to had to have more of the attention, so that, like, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, regardless, like, I have to have a bigger personality so all eyes can be on me, because I need that attention and that validation. And, to add to your point, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. While I think that is true, there are people who go out of their way to comment on your looks and make you feel a certain way about how you look. It's why I don't really jive with men who do that. I don't jive with women who do that. I don't jive with anybody that does that kind of go out of their way to comment on how you look, or your weight, or things like that. That's a huge flag to me, and I don't like it. And, to be honest, I grew up in a family that's very much like that. In the South, anybody who's ever been to the South, the people from the South will just tell you how they're feeling. If they've got racist views, they don't like you, they're going to be very overt and upfront. They're not going to sugarcoat, they're not going to hide it. The same thing is also true with how you look, or how your kids look, and things like that. And, right now, if I were to go home and my family saw me, they would tell me I'm so fat right now. They would be like, "Ooh, you're fat," and that would be like, that's like the first assessment. Like, when I walk in the door, it's not, "Oh my gosh, how are you doing?" It's not that. It's not, "Oh, how was your trip? Everything okay?" All that. Like, let's sit down. Let's catch up on life. It's like, "Oh, okay. You walk through the door. How fat are you? How's your hair looking? Just what do you have on?" That type of thing. So it's usually, the first thing is about appearance. It might be a hug, and then it's immediately about appearance. And then the next thing would be, are you married yet? Or, who's your new partner? It's usually something about a man. So those two things, because that's really how status, worth, and things like that are assessed. That was my upbringing anyway. That's how my family does it. And if none of those things are up to par, they are going to very quickly let you know that you are not it. If my hair is not pressed, if it's not, if I don't look presentable, if I look heavy, like right now, like I said, they'd be like, "Oh my goodness." My grandmother would twirl me around and say, "Oh my God, you're spreading back there. You have gotten too big, too big." I'm not even exaggerating, but that's people feel like they can criticize you, and they'll do it in front of an audience. It does not matter. It does not matter how you feel about it, but that's kind of how it is. And then, when they do it in front of an audience, it becomes very polarizing, like group polarization or groupthink. Everybody then, they say it in front of everybody else. Everybody else starts to comment on how fat you are, how unkempt you are, or how you're not successful, because if you're not partnered, or you're not married, or you ain't got no kids and things like that, so it becomes quickly a criticism about beauty and what you were able to attract, and how successful you are in a relationship because of your beauty. So hope that helps. Thanks so much for putting that out there. Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, share, and follow. Thanks so much.